So something I wanted to talk about today regarding mind, consciousness and thought, the three principles, is that when I first came across this understanding, I got quite hung up on feeling this need to understand, well, what is mind, what is thought, what is consciousness, and actually understanding intellectually each of those words. And what I've come to realize is that it's deeper than the words, and they're a principle, they're a truth. So this understanding isn't a how-to. I think something else that I thought when I first came across this was that if I learnt this, if I understood this, then I was never going to have a sad or bad day again. I was never going to have those low moods again. I was always going to be happy, always going to be joyful, and that it was going to be a how-to for, you know, creating an amazing life and you know, taking away all the bad stuff. And whilst I've been around this for about 2 or 3 years now, so whilst I have had a shift in that it is creating more of an amazing life, because my reaction and response to life is very different these days. So therefore I do feel happier and more content and at peace more than I don't. My bounce back time is quicker when I do have a reaction. Because of this understanding, I'm more resilient to the ups and downs and the natural ebb and flow of life. And something that I've really come to see is that it really doesn't matter whether you understand this or not. It's a truth. And something I was saying to a client the other day was that it's a truth like the law of gravity. I don't necessarily understand and have the words to articulate and explain the science behind gravity. I don't know what it is, but I know it to be true. And it's that knowing that means I just accept it for being what it is. And I know that if I go and attempt to step off a building, I'm going to fall. I don't question it. I don't say, oh, well, it's not, you know, that's not going to happen for me because I don't believe it, or no, that's not correct. No, if I step off a building, I'm going to fall. And I equally know that it's not something that just applies to some buildings and not others. So I equally know that it doesn't matter what size or where the building is. If I try and step off it, the law of gravity is in play and I will fall. And the reason I point that out is because when you first come into this understanding, I think the access point is the universal principle of thought. And I know for me that's where I've started to get more of a glimpse of it than, you know, maybe some of the spiritual aspects of the full trilogy of mind, consciousness and thought. And so there are some areas where I have felt like, okay, I can see it playing out here, but I don't know about in that situation, or what about in that situation. And so I've got little boxes that I haven't been clear on in myself yet as to how these three principles are playing out. But what I do know is that, like the law of gravity, they are still playing out. And I might not understand it. I might not have that depth of seeing it yet. I might not have the words to articulate it yet. but I still know it's playing out, and that it is absolutely the principle of mind, thought and consciousness that is playing out in every single scenario. But equally, what I've come to see is that it doesn't mean that I don't live a life of the natural ebb and flow. That moods come and go, and just as in we have a high tide and a low tide, our moods will go up and down, and as our moods or our energy goes up and down, so does the level of the quality of our thinking. And if we're only ever experiencing our thought, then according to where my mood is at, is always going to be the experience I have of that thinking. And something I've come to see is that I've learned to have more grace and compassion around that. So I don't get so caught up in it. I think something that I would do in the past is I would maybe get in a bit of a low mood, I would have a lot of stinking thinking, and then I would just layer more and more thought on that. I don't want to feel like this. When's it going to go away? Why do I feel like that? Oh, is that because of something in my childhood? You know, what do I need to do to fix it? How do I make this stop? I don't want to feel like this. I don't do that anymore. And there's something very freeing and peaceful about that, because I understand that just like the high tide and the low tide, it changes. So will my mood, so will my thoughts. And I don't need to hold on to that. I don't need to go into the content in detail. I don't need to analyse the life out of it. I just need to, with grace, allow it to pass through me. And again, I think to begin with, that's a very natural question to ask. Well, how do you not have anything on your thinking? How do you let it but just pass through you? Have you ever tried to stop the waves from coming into the shore and leaving again? It's just a natural flow, isn't it? We have a natural flow of breath. We inhale and we exhale. And we don't have to force that. We don't have to do anything to change it. It just happens. We see it every day in nature with the weather, the clouds floating along in the sky. We don't have to do anything to make the clouds move. They just move. But behind it is the blue sky. And that's what I've come to see, is that I don't have to do anything to make my moods go away. I don't have to do anything to get rid of the thoughts and try and fix myself. And in actual fact, the more I try to do things, the longer they stay around, because I'm giving it more energy. So I've learned to just wait it out, not have anything on it. Know that if I am in a low mood and my thoughts are stinking, that's not a time to be making decisions. It's not a time to be engaging in conversations with people where you have a strong opinion about something from that low mood. So I just accept where I am, because I can only ever be in the present moment. I might go for a walk, I might need to take a nap, I might need to read a book, I might need to watch something funny. until it passes, and it always does. So knowing this stuff doesn't mean that we won't have low moods or stinking thinking ever again. What it does mean, or has meant for me, is that I've learnt to not take it so seriously, to not have anything on it, to not make so much meaning of it. And for me, that's brought me peace. So I hope that helps.